What's up? It's your boy Dr. Fax, and I'm here with the boys, and we're ready for divisional weekend football. We got some amazing bets for you guys. We were close on our all-team one last week. Hopefully, we can get a win before the season's over, but we got an exciting 4 games this weekend, and we're going to get right to it.
All right, ripping a couple divisional round bets for you this weekend. Hanging out with the dudes, and probably the second best weekend of football. 4 games, they all mean something. Win or go home.
What's the best?
Wild card weekend.
Oh, I think divisional weekend is better.
Oh, really?
Few less games, but way closer games, better battles,
Yeah,
more
there's just
significant.
But there's 6. You got 6 island games wild card weekend throughout Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They're both pretty top tier, 1A, 1B. But first game, Texans Chiefs. The Chiefs got the bye, and they are 8.5-point favorites with 41.5 as the total. CJ Stroud has not done well in games that he is the clear underdog, or in weather games. Nate, do you have a lean on this one right off the jump?
Off the jump, I am going to lean with Kansas City Chiefs. I think that Andy Reid and the Chiefs, maybe they have been playing possum. And, this game, I think we see the whole kit and caboodle come out. And it's going to be hard to know who scores, but I just feel like anyone on the offense is going to be up for grabs to score. Even the tackles. Like, who knows? The tackle might throw a touchdown pass. I just feel like Kansas City, they kind of showed us this year that they know how to win. And I think we might see the old Kansas City this game where they really are just imposing on offense and
Let the ponies run.
They're going to open up the floodgates.
And I couldn't agree more. They're super healthy going into the game. I think Andy Reid will have a great game plan. One thing I was looking at was like Patrick Mahomes' history in the playoffs. He's actually played 18 playoff games, so we have like a full season's worth of playoff games as a sample size. During the regular season, Mahomes averages under 4 carries a game for 20 yards and scores 0.13 touchdowns per game. During the playoffs, he averages 5 carries, almost 30 yards a game, and gets 0.28 TDs per game. So he's more than twice as likely in his career to score a touchdown in the playoffs versus the regular season. And when you look at the anytime scorer prop for Kansas City game, like Pat Mahomes is plus 500. So if you think that he'll continue that pace of scoring more than 1 out of every 4 games, mathematically, that's a great bet. And if you like that number, you should look at the 2 TD number of Pat Mahomes 2 touchdowns plus 3,000. Maybe take a little smaller bet on that, or just bet it straight up. Pat Mahomes over 23.5 rushing yards at even money. I like all 3 of those bets a lot.
Yeah, and with that bet also, if you look at this game on BetMGM, I don't know how long it'll be up there, but they have a tab that says either or 2 anytime touchdowns. And like Matt was just saying, I really like the value in Patrick Mahomes or CJ Stroud.
Plus 2,200 on that tab.
2,200. I like that value. I don't know why, just like you said, I just feel like Pat is a gamer, and this is a game where if he feels like he can run it in, he's going to do it. Like, by any means, this game, it's not going to be like looking for incentives or guys to finish off contract stuff. It's all about winning right now, and I think Pat.
And the opponent matters in this. Like, the Texans love to blitz from the edge.
Yep.
And if there's a weakness for the Chiefs, it's their offensive tackles, right? So, like, I expect Mahomes to be escaping the pocket with regularity.
You said he has 18 playoff games. 15 of those have been wins for Patrick Mahomes. Can you name the 3 losses? There's 1 loss in the Super Bowl and 2 AFC championships.
He lost in the AFC Championship in his first year, which would have been to the Patriots, right?
Yep.
And
first year starting.
First year starting, yeah. He was the backup to Alex Smith the year before, although they probably should have played him in the playoffs. And then they lost to they've lost a Super Bowl, right? And that was
Bengals?
to the
That was again to Tom Brady, but with
to
the
the
Buccaneers.
Bucks, right?
Yep, in 2020, and then the Bengals is the other one.
Yeah,
the
that's the
AFC
whole name.
Bengals,
Championship
that's what I thought. I remember
in
like,
2022.
the photo of him and Joe Burrow
Yeah,
at the end. Yeah, Joe
Yeah.
Burrow.
Joey B.
Yeah,
But I think, I think that one I think is going to be closer than the book has it. But that'll
Well,
be
that's a huge spread. Like when you're looking at
Yeah.
an 8 or 9 point spread, and
And the Chiefs have been rough against the spread
right,
all season.
absolutely. In terms of covering, they won a lot of games by low single
Yep.
digits when the spread was like a touchdown or higher. But when you're looking at a spread and you're attempting to bet it, look at the total as well, because like in the Detroit game when the total is 55, a spread of 8.5 relatively is much less significant than a spread of 8.5 in a game where the total is like 41 or 42, like this Chiefs game. So when you see that number with a low total, that's a really big number.
yep. They're not expecting the Texans to score. Last bet that I like from this game and with the BetMGM longest touchdown promotion, I am going to pick Xavier Worthy.
I like that.
I
Good
think
pick.
he's a guy that, I don't know, they can run one of those fly sweeps like to start a drive and he can take it 80, or I see a broken play and Mahomes just throwing it up and him just dropping under it for a touchdown. I think they just have a lot of guys on that team. I feel like DeAndre Hopkins might be a nice sleeper also. He's a guy that I feel like probably be going
Nice
for-
deep shot.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
deep shots. I'm just thinking about who has a chance. And
With Xavier Worthy, weeks 1 through 12, he had a 13.9% target share. That jumped up to 21.3 weeks 13 to 17.
and best believe Andy Reid is going to have an entire package for him because of his speed. So I expect him to get the ball a lot. So
And exactly with his speed, his depth of target weeks 1 through 12 was 12 yards, but it's 6.3 weeks 13 to 17. That means that actually I think helps your bet, because if he catches a like a short shallow cross across the middle, run for yards. Exactly.
Or he
Best
could
flight.
He could even catch
Xavier
one
Worthy.
of those laterals from Kelsey, which would still count
Yeah.
as longest touchdown. But
Yeah.
I like the way you think there, man.
I know Andy Reid's going to break out some weird stuff that we
Something
haven't seen all
funky.
season.
And maybe Travis
No.
Kelce will just do it anyway. You know, just zing. Another big line game. Commanders at the Lions. Lions, the other team that got the bye. That is a 9.5 point spread, but the total is 14 points higher, 55.5. These are two teams that offensively haven't been able to the other opponents
stop them.
You can't stop their offense, but their defenses are both troublesome.
I would
the
say
best
Washington's defense is more troublesome than Detroit's, generally speaking.
Yeah,
But
mostly because of injuries. But Nate, are you leaning? Do you think this is a blowout here or tight game?
I think it's potentially going to be tighter than we think. I think I was saying the 9.5 to me is a little steep. Can I see it happening? Absolutely. The Lions are a team that if they have one of those games where Jared Goff is just on the money and just making the right throws and things are going the right way, it can definitely get ugly. But I just really like the way Jaden Daniels is playing, and just by the way he's playing, if guys on the Commanders can find a way to limit self-mistakes, drop passes, and penalties, I think they stay in this game way closer than 9.5.
how many fourth down attempts do you think we'll see in this game? Like
Between
Dan
both
Campbell
teams?
versus Dan Quinn, I feel like
It's going to be
we might
four-
not see 3 punts in this
It's
whole
funny
game.
you say that. I wish there was a bet. Was a bet for the weekend.
BetMGM, make us a line. How many fourth down attempts?
Oh yeah, make us a green light
green light line.
like just over the whole entire weekend. Because like I said, I was saying earlier, I feel like in the next game we're going to talk about, or the game we're going to talk about last, the Ravens and the
Bills.
and the Bills, because of the weather, also in the Eagles-Rams, because of the weather on the East Coast, it's something where we might not see a lot of kicks and teams might be forced into just thinking about 4-down territory the entire game or usually way earlier than they usually would. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of these games, and weather is definitely going to play a part. And it's funny, I wonder if it's something where the weather just, like, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think last week we gave out Jaden Daniels rushing totals, which is a good bet to give out any week.
He did lead the team in rushing.
He led the
Didn't
team.
hit the number.
Yeah, it was
Didn't
just
hit the
half
number.
of the total. I think he had 38 or something.
Disgusting.
But yeah, but
There are a few. Sorry, go ahead.
this week is, if you want to double down on it, a perfect week to do it. Aaron Glenn's defense has had a tough time corralling those mobile quarterbacks since 2022. There have been 13 quarterbacks you can call mobile, and those quarterbacks averaged 9.6 carries for 64.5 yards.
Ooh.
And his total right now, Jaden Daniels on BetMGM, 54.5 is his total. Another factor is the fact that the Lions play a ton of man coverage and they blitz. That's a ton of potential for Jaden Daniels to rip off a 25 yard run if he escapes contain.
I like that bet a lot. I also like some of the props on the Lions side of the ball, especially Gibbs. He's just one of the best players in the league, playing behind probably the second best offensive line in the league. Like Gibbs plus 2+ TDs is plus 225. Gibbs over 84.5 yards feels like a lock to me. And you can even get plus 750 on Gibbs, 150 plus rushing yards, which might
Did you
be
see
worth the flyer.
Montgomery doing anything this week?
I think it
He's
depends.
obviously
I think it
back.
depends on the score and like how close the game is. If Detroit takes a relatively sizable lead, I think they'll lean on Montgomery more. But if they're behind or the game is in phase, I think we'll see more Gibbs.
I think potentially Montgomery might be their red zone back, and they might give Gibbs like the heavy load just so they can kind of like manage him, or I wonder if we see him too like on short yardage, third downs, fourth downs.
I think about their
Possibly.
situation not too dissimilarly from Tampa's, where like Bucky Irving just showed up and was incredible, and at some point it didn't make sense to give Rashad White the ball as much. Like, David Montgomery is an incredible player, but Gibbs is just electric.
Yeah, and to your point, if the Lions do have this game in hand, why even run Montgomery? Let him get another week of rest. Give him a couple to get him in, to get the feel back for the gameplay and stuff like that, but don't keep him for the conference. Rams-Eagles is the next one. That's the early game on Sunday, 3 o'clock. Eagles 6-point favorites. 44 is the total, and it is going to be a little snowy in Philadelphia. You're going to get some of those cocaine white out on the field. Those thoroughbreds are going to be running on the field, just chalking up little tasty snowflakes behind them.
And just like the number 3, the number 6 is one of the most important numbers in football betting. If you're thinking about betting the Eagles, just sit there and look and wait and see if it drops to 5.5, because that's really valuable.
Nate, you on anything this game?
I am going back and forth if the Eagles are going to find a way to score on defense or special teams. It's plus 500. I just feel like if this game is the weather that it's supposed to be, like with all the sleet and the snow and cold, I think Carter absolutely destroys this game. And I just like the chance of a fumble, and I just feel like the Eagles will be punching at the ball. And again, I feel like the Rams are a team like the Eagles. They get to practice. It's cold right now over here, so they kind of like are acclimated. The ball carriers and the guys who are going to handle the ball, they're kind of used to their hands being cold and like handling the football and taking shots and taking hits. The Rams, on the other hand, I don't think it's that cold wherever they're practicing on the West Coast or even close to it. So I think that is something that will be a factor. So I'm expecting to see like some fumbles or the ball on the ground. And
Ball on the ground. I love seeing some snow on the ball,
yeah,
like packed snow. Everybody's diving, tumbling for it. You got some snow in between the laces. Matthew Stafford in outdoor games in the rain or snow. He's 1-8, 54.6 completion percentage, 14 touchdowns, 11 picks, 76 passer rating. 11 picks in 9 games, not a bad play for a Stafford anytime interception, especially in a game like this.
Damn, you just scared me off the bet I was going to say.
What were you going to say?
Well, last week I really liked the Tyler Higbee anytime touchdown prop, and then he got a chest injury, which actually caused him to go to the hospital, and he was bleeding, spitting up blood. But Higbee plus 450, anytime touchdown, he's supposed to be playing. Nice comeback story. Eagles, maybe a little confusion in the middle of their defense with Nakobe Dean out. I don't hate it.
Puka Nacua, his receiving yards total is 87.5. Is that something are we like, oh, Vegas knows something, or is that like a little trap and you take that under for sure?
It's a big number, especially given the weather.
Huge.
One of the biggest things to think about with receiving yard props is the potential or like most likely game script, which the most likely game script would be Rams are playing from behind. And that means they're throwing the ball. So that would be one reason to possibly not take that under. But when you're predicting game scripts, you're going to be wrong most of the time. So, take that with a grain of salt.
He wouldn't be a bad play at 87.5 to just throw a longest touchdown on, right? Like if it's going to be that high, you might as well do the over and throw in a longest touchdown for him.
I definitely can see that happening. But what I also can see happening is, like, because of the weather, them doing those lot of jet sweeps where Stafford is going to do one of these, like little short passes in front of him, and Puka can get 25 to 40 yards on a scramble on a couple of those, or even getting 15 to 20 on a couple of those. I think that can accumulate. If it works early once, best believe they'll probably try it again, and I think that's where it can get closer to that 87.
Yeah. Hey, if you're a Birds fan, real fast, keep this in mind. Obviously, the Eagles, slow starters, right? But Stafford is 0-6 second half against the spread this season. 0-6. 0-6 second half against the spread after leading at the first half. And 2-16 second half against the spread over the last 3 seasons in that spot. So if you're an Eagles fan and maybe it's like 10-7 at the half, Rams, throw some money on the Eagles second half and feel okay.
There are special bets you could place. I don't have the odds in front of me, but you could bet the Rams to be leading at halftime and the Eagles to win if you really like that game flow.
Tasty.
Probably plus 700 or so.
Final game
Spicy.
in the divisional round, Ravens-Bills, probably the one we're looking forward to the most.
Yep.
The 2 leading candidates for MVP in this game, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. The line has flipped back and forth between these two teams. Right now, the Ravens favored by 1 point, and 51.5 is the total. The Bills, since they're currently home underdogs in the playoffs, with this 1 point spread, if they close as home dogs, it would break an 18 game home favorite streak in the playoffs for Buffalo, dating back to the merger in 1970. Absolutely wild. And
Maybe
that's
a good thing. They haven't won a Super Bowl any of those years.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it just speaks to how good a team the Ravens have.
Well, their defense has just gotten so much better over the last 7-8 games of the season. That every single line, the last 4 games that the Ravens have played, sharp bettors have bet the Ravens, and the line has moved towards them by 1 to 2 points per week.
Wow. Damn.
That being said, I do not know what to expect in this game at all. Weather makes it really complicated. I can't wait to see it, but
Didn't the
it's hard to
Ravens
bet.
sign Deontay Johnson back?
So they signed
he
him in
can't
order
play,
to get a compensatory pick potentially, because if he were to sign somewhere else after the end of the season, they could get a compensatory pick.
And he can't play this playoff season. He's not going to be available to the 2025
Right. And
season if he were to stay on the team.
Since the establishment of the compensatory pick system, the Ravens have gotten the most of those.
Out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, this game is a rematch from Week 4. The Ravens won that game 35-10,
Yep.
and one of probably 2 of the Bills' worst games this season. But the Bills were missing Milano and Terrell Bernard that game. They're going to get those guys back. But Fax, anything on this game? I'm sure you like the running backs, right?
I love the running backs. And
Couple thoroughbreds in the snow again.
not only the running backs, the quarter running backs. I like the quarterbacks also. I have a nice, somewhat juicy parlay. We got 4 legs. We got James Cook combined for 100 rushing and receiving yards. We have Derrick Henry for 125 rushing yards. Lamar Jackson for 75 rushing yards, and Josh Allen for 75 rushing yards. And that's going to get you plus $15,000. $5 get you $755. I like this bet because we're talking about if we are going to get this weather, I feel like it's a game that anything can happen. Drop snaps turned into long scrambles for quarterbacks. And then I think both teams are going to have to test the running game early. And it's something where I can see this game being a shootout where both teams are just scoring and defenses are sliding around trying to tackle Cook and Henry in the snow or Lamar and Allen. So I feel like it's a potential game where it's going to be good old classic, old hard-nosed running football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got the running backs to do it. You've got the quarterbacks to do that as well. One thing to keep an eye out for is the Ravens on defense. They do not do a good job of containing the Bills running backs, catching the ball out of the backfield. On the season, they have allowed, on average, 42.4 yards to opposing running backs in the air. On top of that, the Bills have probably one of the best receiving running back.
The best, according to Josh Allen, the best third down back in the league. Is
Yeah.
what he said after the game last week.
Yeah, I mean
Ty Johnson.
Yeah, Ty
Ty
Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah. The fact that he
True.
looks to those guys so often, and you saw it in the game last week against the Broncos. He was fine to check the ball down. They want to own time of his possession. They want to keep Lamar on the field. They want to keep the opposing quarterback on the sideline. And the way to do that is dink and dunk, get the ball down the field, maintain possession, and they've got the studs to do it. Receiving yards, looking at it for those guys, running back wise, James Cook, 13.5 yards. It's pretty damn low. And the other guys aren't on here. So, James Cook, 13.5.
They're afraid of Ty Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. He might be.
And
let's
if you
see
watched
if
the
he's
show
up there
last
for,
week, you heard the Ty Johnson anytime touchdown.
Ooh,
That hit.
It did. Crazy one.
Yeah, a little
Yeah,
crazy.
I just honestly can't wait for this game. Like throughout the season, I love to place bets on every game to make it more exciting. This one, I don't need to bet at all. Honestly, it's just like I cannot wait to see this.
It's going to be great no matter what.
It's going to be amazing. Can't wait for it.
So those are a couple bets. We threw out some longest touchdowns, but our group bet this week, Matt, who'd you have?
Hey, I said it already. Pat Mahomes, anytime touchdown, plus 500. I like those odds.
Pat, he comes alive in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
We know every time. How many times does he scramble along the sideline and we're like, what the hell? Put him in the end zone. Nate, who you got?
I got Joe Mixon plus 125 rushing or receiving yards. I feel like if the Texans, whether they're going to win this game and or get boat race, I feel like C.J. Stroud is probably going to have to check the ball down to Mixon a lot, and or they're going to have to establish the run early, which I feel like he'll get a bunch of yards. And if Kansas City defense comes to play, I think they're going to be forcing him to make some of those check downs a lot. And I think Mixon, if he's on his game, he can eat up some yards. And it's a long shot bet, but hopefully it can hit.
It sure can.
I feel good about it.
My pick, I'm going Austin Eckler anytime touchdown. It's plus 225. But Eckler, he has been around. He knows how to do it. Jaden Daniels is going to need a guy like that. You put all those picks together, little parlay, that's plus 7,375. $15 stake gets you $1,121.25.
Nice.
Look at that, boys.
And the Commanders, like early in the season, ran a good amount of 2 running back sets featuring Brian Robinson on Austin Eckler, and then when Eckler was injured, they got away from that. But we did see some more of that last week, so that makes a lot of sense.
That's right. So, hey, tail us if you want.
Hey, and tonight, NBA. You can bet NBA tonight before the NFL this weekend. Nate's got a bet on the Cavs to win 70 games. So we're sweating that. Probably the biggest game they've got this season for that bet. Cavs at Thunder. I know Nate and I are both betting Cavs plus 1.5.
Cavs could get halfway to the total. They're at 34 right now.
Yeah.
Win tonight.
Yep.
Right on
way.
pace.
I think I'm going to put a little parlay in for the Cavs to win, but Shea Gillis to have 40.
Are you feeling pretty good about that bet so far?
What is that?
The Cavs bet?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely, I am. I'm confident in them. Going to finish strong. They got some great players on their team, and they're playing hard, so I like my chances right now.
Make that money.